Hello everyone, this is Helios Raven. I tell you how to do it, even if you don't care. And in this week's installment of our in-depth look of the forces of Battlefleet Gothic, we're going to look at the Tau expansionary fleet in the Armada Handbook. The Tau were introduced as sort of a sophisticated version of the Imperial Navy in terms of long-range combat, where they have a few special rules that give them an advantage when being attacked from long range, as well as when they are attacking in long range. They also have some of the neatest ordnance weapons that we'll have seen so far in our in-depth look, and they do have one of the greatest weaknesses that they do have as a great weakness, like all the other forces that we've looked at that were Xeno in a sense, and we'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's talk about the special rule indications of their weapons. Now, their weapons for all front function the same. It's just that they use different names, which GW decide to explain just to avoid any confusion. The first is that their turrets do employ the tracking system technology, which we'll talk about later when we get to Tau systems. Their ion cannons are what represent the lances for the Tau fleet. The railgun batteries count as their weapon batteries. Gravity launchers count as their torpedo tubes. And gravity hooks, what gravity hooks are is there's basically a special towing docking system that the Tau ships use to latch on some of their escorts. And certain escorts can only be brought into the game if they are parented to a ship with a gravity hook. The ships themselves function completely independently and don't offer any special bonus if you destroy them in-game. Like, in terms of game rules, there's nothing fancy. In terms of fleet registration rules, there's the particular escorts that are involved with gravity hooks can only be brought into the army as long as if you have a ship with gravity hooks, and you can only have a number of escorts to a number of gravity hooks. Like, say if the one vessel that we talk about says gravity hook capacity 2, insert escort here, that means you can have 2 of that particular escort in your fleet because of this ship. If it has 3 gravity hooks that each have 1 capacity 1 of this particular escort, then you can have up to 3 additional ships of this particular escort in your fleet because of these 3 gravity hooks. So in a sense, for every gravity hook listing in the Tau vessel and how many ships it has the capacity for dictates how many of this particular escort that we're going to talk about later you can have. And that was it for their special rules. They were then given Tau systems. Their shields function just as normally. They also had what are called deflectors. Deflectors were basically this a special type of deflector shield that basically put a special defense against the passive armor of a ship. And it gives the ship more bracing power when it comes to direct fire. If fired at from the front of the deflector augments the passive armor, which counts as armor 6. Deflectors are always mounted on the POW and will be disabled if the ship suffers a POW weapons damage critical. Deflectors are not shields and do not count as such for the purposes of boarding, blast markers, and other effects which apply to shields. So basically, this is a fancy type of shield that, when being attacked from the front arc, instead of their regular armor value, it counts as a 6. Unless the particular ship takes a POW weapon damage destroy result on the critical chart, then this augmented armor goes away. And then they also were given tracking systems. When a ship has tracking systems, it basically allows it to link up with other ships around it and send important data that it's discovered about enemy vessels. Any Tau vessel within 10 centimeters of a ship with tracking systems may reroll misses when using turrets, and ignores the column shift when firing batteries at ranges above 30 centimeters. Tracking systems continue to function even if the ship is braced for impact, which is really, really nice. So basically, it turns their weapon batteries into long-range weapons because they don't suffer the 30-centimeter range issue, which is phenomenally great, which gives the Tau superiority with the long-range capabilities, because no matter what, their weapon batteries are not affected by range, so which is really great. And the only other rules that they wish to configure is that the Tau vessels follow all the normal rules from the Battlefleet Gothic rulebook except for the following. And then to avoid confusion, they just wanted to note that the Tau use the standard critical hit table. They roll their leadership as normal. They may not conduct teleport, hit and run attacks, and during boarding actions, the boarding strength is half the normal of the size of the ship. And also a note on the Tau weapon configurations. The Tau railgun and lance batteries are extremely sophisticated with advanced targeting systems that allow several individual weapons to engage each designated target regardless of relative position. On Tau ships, where individual turrets and batteries may be relatively weak, combining firing zones in a manner make Tau railguns and ion cannons fearsome projectiles, especially in forward-firing arc, where turrets from all over the vessel can combine against a single enemy vessel in a squadron. And one note also, we're going to talk about quickly the ordnance of the Tau. The Tau have Barracuda fighters, which function as their fighters, which have a speed of 25 centimeters, and Manta missile destroyers. These are their bombers. They move at 20 centimeters, and they have the 4+ save when they're being attacked against an enemy vessel. Yet, despite the fact that they're Mantas, which most people know in 40K universe, they are troop transports, they cannot be used as assault boats. They are strictly bombers only in the Battlefleet Gothic game. And they also have what are called Tau missiles. Tau missiles have a speed of 20 to 40 centimeters, which means they can move either 20 centimeters minimum or maximum 40 centimeters in each ordnance phase that they are in, which is really awesome. Also, at the beginning of their move, they may make a 45-degree turn. This is to represent the sophistication of their systems to the fact that they can put drone computers on their missiles, so they're drone guided. But because of the size of the torpedoes and how their system operates, they are only at their strongest in the first volley. Once they've been launched, on the second ordnance phase after they've been launched, they have to roll a number of d6 equal to the strength of the servo, and any roll of a 6 reduces the strength of the servo to 1. So, if you fired in turn 1 a strength 6 servo of torpedoes, on turn 2, when the ordnance phase begins, you roll 6d6, and say you roll 3 6s, you then have a servo strength of 3 instead of 6. And that's basically it for all the real fancy got to know right now before we go into talking about the vessels of Tau. And so we'll continue on with our next video, which is going to be about the Tau ships. And so until next time, this is Helios Raven, signing off.